It's the New Year's Eve of 2008. A group of friends are hanging out, laughing and chatting. Suddenly, a teenager pulls out a weapon and targets a man. The man is injured badly as a bullet hits his stomach. It turns out that the man was goading the teen into hitting him, or else he would eliminate his mother. The teen, overcome with fear and fueled by alcohol and narcotics, acts on impulse. The man is taken to hospital, but seething in revenge, he refuses treatment. Things are not looking good for the teen, because his victim is no ordinary man. He is the crime boss of one of the most notorious mobs of a Liverpool estate that has become a ghetto because of rampant violence. As that man plans to hit back, he gets arrested and imprisoned for life. 14 years later, he escapes from prison, astonishing both the law enforcement and public on the go. This is the story of Daniel G, a volatile thug, whose name once triggered fear amongst the residents of Grizedale estate. Just like his criminal career, his recent escape from prison has become notorious, but for different reasons. While his criminal career inspired fear among people, his escape has left them perplexed and wondering.
Notorious Liverpool gangster Daniel G has absconded from prison and remains on the run. G, who was jailed indefinitely for the public's protection in 2010, absconded from Kirklevington Grange, a Category D open prison in Stockton-on-Tees, on Monday. 3 days on, he remains at large, with local force Cleveland Police leading the manhunt.
So, what's the story of Daniel G? His indeterminate imprisonment and his escape. A prison break with a twist. Daniel G, one of the most notorious names of the 2000s in North Liverpool, has escaped from prison. This escape is as shocking as it is confusing. But before getting into the reasons for both, let's give you a brief recap of who Daniel G is. Those of you who have watched our video on the G brothers may remember him. He's one of the crime bosses of a narcotic enterprise that wreaked havoc on Everton's Grizedale estate. Notorious for using extreme violence, Daniel, along with his brother Darren G, ran a 24/7 open-air narcotic dealing enterprise. But that's not the only reason for their notoriety. They employed kids to be their foot soldiers. Young parents selling smack and coke with their kids present was a common sight in those days. In the 2000s, they joined a new generation of criminals swarming to the booming narcotic business in Liverpool. Soon, they carved out a space for themselves in the local underworld. Their names still give many deja vu of the city's narcotic war. The sibling duo turned the Grizedale estate into a ghetto which the outsiders steered clear of. Now, why was the estate a magnet for illicit trade? It was accessible to the wharves and dockland warehouses and rife with deprivation, which meant people would jump at a chance of making a few quid. That's how an estate riddled with poverty was soon rampaged by illicit trade and violence. While the G brothers weren't the only ones responsible for it, they sure become a significant contributor to the estate's woes. But that's a story for the later part of this episode. Let's dive head first into this astonishing prison escape that's become the talk of the town. After remaining incarcerated for around 14 years, Daniel G absconded from Category D open prison Kirklevington Grange on May the 27th. The escape has led to a massive manhunt steered by the Cleveland Police. The Ministry of Justice has not only confirmed G's escape, but also promised punishment for breaking rules. According to a spokesperson from the prison service, all prisoners in Category D prisons are robustly risk assessed and absconds are rare. Offenders who break the rules are punished and face extra time behind bars, and we're working with the police to recapture this prisoner. Bye bye bars. An abscond occurs when the prisoner escapes without needing to overcome any physical restraints, such as fences, walls, gates, etc. Notably, Daniel has escaped without breaking through physical restraints, but there weren't that many to begin with. According to the Prison and Probation Service, Category D prisons have minimal security and allow eligible prisoners to spend most of their day away from the prison on licence for work, education or other resettlement activities. An abscond is only possible in open prisons. Absconds from open prisons are closely monitored to assess frequency across the estate and to spot any national trends. Also considering the management of public risk. If a prisoner fails to abide by the required guidelines in an open prison, they cannot return to any such facility for at least 2 years. Now what's confusing many people is why would someone abscond from a Category D prison, especially when they have spent a fair share of their life in stricter prisons. Being transferred to a Category D prison means that the offender has been behaving well for some time now. But before we delve into this baffling narrative, let's first see the developments after the escape. As mentioned earlier, Cleveland police are spearheading the search for the thug. The department has issued an appeal to help trace Daniel G. As per the description, G is a large-built white male, standing about 6 foot tall and bald. He was last seen donning a black jumper, black Adidas trousers, with a white stripe down each side and black trainers. He carried a yellow JD sports bag and is thought to have connections in North Yorkshire, including Whitby, Carlisle, St Helens and Merseyside in North Yorkshire. The police have urged people with information about the thug's whereabouts to contact them. Here is the recently released picture of the offender. Authorities are concerned that G can leverage his proximity to Newcastle and the Scottish border to run off further north or flee to Europe. War on crime. Will the tide ever turn? This development has brought to mind the horrors that Grizedale estate once grappled with. Another stark reminder from this event is the war on serious crime isn't over yet. The laws may have tightened, the agencies more alert, but crime and the criminals haven't changed. The only way they've changed is that they've become more advanced and sophisticated. The Liverpool Echo cited Assistant Chief Ian Critchley, saying that even though the business model of organised crime has changed over the decades, it still remains the same in essence. We are still talking about the same types of people. They are bullies who use people to sell narcotics. They trade in fear and violence to get what they want. However, Chris Green, head of the North West Regional Organised Crime Unit, iterated that crime bosses who left Merseyside for Dubai or beyond were not beyond their reach. It means that the authorities are still on their case. The distance doesn't make them invincible. Organised crime groups use hierarchical structures, and we often see individuals who rise through the ranks and then choose to live overseas. But this is in no way unique to Merseyside. We see people at the top of these structures who have the ability to try and control the minds of others, possibly younger criminals. But my message to these people is simple. Leaving Merseyside does not make you untouchable. Here is what ex-criminal turned boxer turned true crime podcaster Billy Moore has to say about his escape.
Okay, so let's keep it simple. Why is he absconded? Well, because he can. Because he's in an open air prison. And I'd rather be in a bang up jail than a Cat E, because I've been to a Cat E once. I've done 3 months there. It was the last sentence I did. It's full of lick asses, grasses, screw boys. No, there's a few lads in there that are decent, that are just keeping under the radar and doing their own thing. But like a fucking vast majority of them are just kissing bumhole. I got there because it was fucking an enhanced prisoner, kept me head down, and the reality was, you know, I was in recovery and I wasn't taking drugs. You'll never find an addict or a using addict in another way, in a Cat C prison. Just down to the fact that, you know, they'll never pass a random drug test or a mandatory drug test.
According to Moore, G has escaped prison because if given a chance, one would prefer living outside a prison than inside. He has also painted a grim picture of living in a prison. However, this wasn't a random prison with bad guys. An open prison is relatively better and means that the prisoner has the chance to get out. Yes, there are brawls in such prisons too. Substance misuse is also an issue, but it's still a lot better than the other prison categories. What's more, it might be easier to run out of here, but the cost of doing so is high. The trust a prisoner has managed to build up with the parole officers is lost, and if captured, the consequences would be dire. Moore goes on to say that he would underestimate Danny G. He admits that Danny has got his shit together for the past few years, but remains sceptical about his intentions.
I wouldn't underestimate him. He doesn't strike me as someone who's got a big ego either. You know, he's dangerous, but he's obviously been, you know, recategorised as a low danger to get to Kirk Levinson. So he's obviously been keeping his shit together for a few years. But, you know, he's on the right path, really, aiming for something. It's easy to be online and shout the odds off about him, but if he was in front of you and telling you now, he's a force to be reckoned with, you'd fucking shit yourself. You know, he's a fucking big Viking stomper. He'll just wreck you.
How did Grizedale become G's stomping ground? The air is rife with fear. People keep looking over their shoulders in trepidation. Nobody knows what might happen in the next minute. People have become hostages in their own homes. This is the Grizedale estate of the 2000s. This is the reign of the G brothers, fueled by narcotics, peddling profits and extreme violence. The Gs dropped out of school without qualifications. Soon they developed a knack for petty crimes including burglary. However, they didn't stop at that. Wanting more, they progressed to serious crime, earning thousands each week from the sale of Class A narcotics. They were earning around £20,000 a week at the height of their business. They had cultivated a network of illicit dealers and exerted control through extreme violence. Over time, they became such a big trouble that a dedicated task force was set up to bring them down. A former member of the task force said while speaking to the Liverpool Echo in 2019, as well as their penchant for violence, the Gs also flourished because of a very parochial situation that allowed them to thrive on the Grizedale. This was a place removed from the rest of the world. The Gs became employers as well as enforcers. They surrounded themselves with people they had grown up with. They used their cash to buy loyalty, protection and security. They paid these young foot soldiers money that they could never earn in the legitimate economy on Civvy Street. Given the unbridled inflow of cash, the G brothers had no issue in using it extravagantly. They used it to buy security, protection and loyalty. The kids would rather do their bidding than go to school, and that's how an intricate network was created. Street dealers would work 24/7 using pay-as-you-go phones. They took orders before sending bike riders who would hand in the product and take the payment. For further details of this operation, watch our video about the G brothers. For now, let's focus on Daniel G. He superseded his brother in reputation for violent behaviour. Daniel G. Volatile, violent and vicious. After his brother's arrest in 2006, Daniel kept terrorising people in his community. However, one incident led to his ultimate downfall and closed the lid on his criminal career, or so thought the officers who made his arrest possible. His incarceration in 2010 closed the lid on his criminal activities for good. A covert investigation revealed that he was planning to eliminate a teenager and procure weapons to do that. But you would be surprised to know that this teenager, Jamie Starkey, was the one to target him first. But G was still not the victim in this nuanced story. Starkey attacked G in 2008 after getting fed up with the thug's intimidation. Danny was repeatedly threatening him and attacking him. While Starkey survived the attacks, he had had enough of it. His lawyers told the court that Danny's gang threw bricks at the teen's home and rammed his brother's car off the road. Once the gang smashed every window of Starkey's house, leaving his 4-year-old sister covered in glass. If you think that's worse, wait for what's coming next. Not only was he threatening Starkey's relatives, but Daniel also kidnapped one of his friends and beat and stoned him in a derelict house. This was the punishment for friendship with Starkey. Starkey ran out of patience at New Year's Eve, when Daniel G goaded him to shoot him, or he would eliminate his mother. Backed into a corner, Starkey targeted him, leaving a gunshot wound to the thug's stomach. Danny was taken to a hospital, seething to get revenge. However, before he could do that, he landed in another trouble. He was arrested for his involvement in a narcotic conspiracy and sentenced to 7.5 years in June 2008. Whereas Starkey admitted to attacking Danny with intent to harm and possessing a firearm, but denied intent to eliminate. He was jailed in October 2008. Now, with both behind bars, things shouldn't have gotten normal between them, should they? But this situation was quite the opposite. A covert operation revealed that Daniel was planning to hit Starkey and his family as revenge. During the narcotics supply investigation, which involved recording the conversations between the thugs in a flat, Danny was recorded calling Starkey and threatening to target his family. He also expressed his intention to target the teen. Marked for life. A trial in October 2009 found Danny G guilty of 2 counts of threats to eliminate and another 2 of blackmail. Moreover, jurors couldn't agree on the 2 more serious charges of conspiracy to eliminate and conspiracy to possess firearms and ammunition. G admitted the second charge. That's how Daniel G was imprisoned for life and slapped with an IPP, i.e. imprisonment for public protection. A controversial practice of the time, the details of which will be discussed later. He was ordered to serve a minimum of 4 years before he could be considered for parole. This sentence ran concurrently with the 7.5-year sentence he was serving for narcotic offences. However, given his proclivities, the odds of him qualifying for parole were quite low. G's lawyers told the court during his trial that Daniel was frankly terrified at the possibility of an indeterminate sentence. He had only conspired to arm himself because he suspected another confrontation with the Starkey family. He argued that his client was being targeted because of his underworld family name and that receiving an indefinite sentence was his greatest fear because he believed he would never be released. However, the then Recorder of Liverpool, Judge Henry Globe QC, said, "I am in no doubt that the public must be protected from you in the future. I really do not know when it will be safe to release you." For a person who was terrified of never being released, G's behaviour in prison was highly antagonising. Even behind bars, Daniel's violent behaviour knew no bounds. He kept creating trouble for the prison authorities. He was frequently sent to solitary confinement due to his behaviour. One such incident is going to astonish you. He was creating a ruckus in his cell, which led 10 officers to go inside and confront him. Guess what happened next? You might be thinking it's the guards who would come out triumphant, but that wasn't the case. He overpowered all the officers, wrestling a helmet off of one of them and hitting the others. After that, he was transferred to a specially designed cell, including nothing but a wooden bucket for a toilet. His brother Darren G also admitted Danny's volatile nature and revealed that he was in touch with his past associates behind bars. Now, what's interesting is that Daniel was transferred to an open prison, which means the terms of his incarceration were finally relaxing. He could have been released after serving some time. Why would he choose this time to break out of prison when things were going his way? If he gets caught, he wouldn't make it to such a lenient prison again. But before we explore the possible reasons for why he took this step, let's take a look at the prison. Category D prison. Open doors, second chances. Imagine being stuck at the height of a place. The only way of coming back is using a ladder to climb down safely. With each rung you descend, you get closer to your destination. Prison categories function like the rungs of this ladder for serious offenders. Progressing through these categories brings them nearer to eventual freedom. Consider the Category D prisoner as 2 or 3 rungs above the ground. Coming this far means that the destination is not only in sight, but also accessible. But how is it decided what type of prison a prisoner will be held in? The prison staff takes into account the following things: the likelihood of a prisoner to escape or abscond, the risk of harm to the public if they did escape or abscond, any ongoing criminal behaviour under custody, any violent or other behaviour threatening the safety of others in prison, any control issues that impact on the security and the good order in the prison. If all of these risks are low, a prisoner would be given the lowest security category. Now coming to the prison categories, Category A and B are high security prisons, while D is the least secure prison. The first 3 categories are closed prisons. The prison categories are explained as Category A. This is the prison with the highest security. Here the prison staff keeps check on the prisoners as they are at risk of harming others or escaping, so everything possible is done to prevent any such occurrence. Category B is the prison where the staff thinks a prisoner should have no chance of escaping, so the facility is secured in every way possible to prevent a prison break. Category C are sometimes called training prisons. They are meant to offer education and training to prisoners, and the vast majority of prisoners on longer sentences spend time in Category C accommodation. Category D is the least secure prison, where the inmates are trusted. Prisoners in Category D prisons will be given release on temporary licence, ROTL, to work in the community or go home on leave, usually returning to prison in the early evening. The majority of Category D prisoners are towards the end of their sentence, and their period in open conditions is preparing them for their eventual release. Now, how frequently is the prisoner security category reviewed? For a prisoner with an indeterminate sentence, the one like Daniel G had, the review meetings occur at least every 12 months. The prisoner security category is reviewed at every meeting. If an offender on an indeterminate sentence manages to secure Category D, it means that they have established trust among the prison staff with their cooperative behaviour. It can only be done after a recommendation by the parole board or a decision by the Secretary of State. Moreover, a Category D prisoner doesn't need regular reviews unless there is a significant change in their behaviour or circumstances. All this information points to one thing. Up until this time, Daniel G had very effectively gained the trust of the prison authorities and the parole board. Do you think Danny G was cooperating only to deceive the authorities, or had he had a change of mind after getting transferred? Let us know in the comments. Kirk Levington Grange Prison. Rehabilitation, not punishment. Coming to the prison he escaped from, Kirk Levington Grange Prison is one of the smallest jails in the UK. Named after the village it is situated in, the prison's primary function is to assist prisoners with resettlement after their sentence is complete. A typical cell in this prison has a TV, radio and an electric fan. The level of trust in the prisoners is to the extent that they are given personal keys to their cells to ensure privacy. Inmates in this prison work on their sentence plan and progress to gain release in temporary licence after risk assessment. What's more, after arriving at Kirk Levington Grange, the prisoners get a week-long induction under which they meet professionals who help them with health and well-being, including mental health, substance misuse, personal development and other interventions like managing difficult emotions. Basically, this is a facility to prepare prisoners for life outside prison. Moreover, after an initial 3-month period at Kirk Levington Grange, prisoners are risk assessed for release on temporary licence, ROTL. If suitable, they will then complete a minimum of 30 days community work on placements or in the voluntary sector. They can then progress to employment or education. One thing we need to mention here is that for IPP prisoners, the release date can still be uncertain. The fact that G chose this time when he was in far better condition has confused many people. Here's what criminal Sam Walker has to say about the thug's escape.
About Danny G. So some of you might have seen he's just absconded from an open prison. Why the fuck would you abscond from an open jail? You've spent 16 years of your life in prison, albeit for an offence that you shouldn't have got that sentence for. It was conspiracy to acquire firearms after someone shot him. But why the fuck would you abscond from open jail? You would have been released in 12 months. The only logical reason for this would be one or two things. The first is well known Danny was bad on the spice. He was a crazy fucking spice head in jail, hitting that spice hard. So he's either been in an open jail, he sat there fucking sucking on his fucking spice. I thought, shit, I fucking ran out of spice, I'm getting off. And just got off to a fucking crack then. Because he's got no proper people around him. He's only got fucking spice heads who are his associates now. So if that's the case, he just got off, the police will find him in a drug-induced fucking coma somewhere, fucking Birkenhead or somewhere, right? But
according to him, this escape has got something to do with spice, but then he comes up with other possible reasons.
If it could be another reason. He might have sat there for 16 years thinking, fuck this, do you know what? I'm getting out and I'm going to go and fucking kill a load of police officers. This could be his other reason, because out of everyone, he's got a lot of reason to be angry with police. Now, logic, I've had it before in the past when police have attacked me in 2018, give me black eyes, which my son had to see. For 2 days, I was wanting them officers dead. I'm not gonna lie, I was sitting there in my head thinking to myself how I could kill him. Lucky enough, I didn't follow through with it. I didn't conspire with anyone, just for the record. I just wanted him dead because I was so fucking angry. Anyway, I snapped out of that, but some people don't. So Danny could, if I put myself in Danny's frame of mind, he could be sat there now thinking, hang on, I've just spent 16 years in jail, I've got off from an open jail, I'm gonna spend another 10 years at least in prison. Am I really gonna fucking spend another 10 years in jail? Fuck that. I'm taking a load of police officers out with me. That's what he might be thinking. That's a serious fucking thought process of what he could be thinking. He's going to go on a killing spree and take a load of police officers out.
G has absconded from prison rather than escape, which means only 6 months in addition to his previous sentence. However, he was held under IPP, which means he has again messed up his record before the parole board, and he might get a stringent sentence or conditions if he's rearrested. Nevertheless, Walker has more to say on G's escape.
That all got fucked up when Darren G ruined his reputation, ruined Danny's reputation by grassing everyone up. That's why Danny G does not speak to Darren. This is the thing with Danny now. He could do one of the two things. He could just be sat there in a fucking crack den somewhere, or he could fucking go on a killing spree. It will remain to be seen what happens, but it'll be an interesting outcome. But he won't last longer than a week, that's a fact. But yeah, why the fuck would you do that? Why would you abscond from an open fucking jail? There's lads there who are working their way up. Here's the thing, when you get a long sentence, you work your way up to open conditions. That's what you do, fucking, to get there so you can get out in a few months. Danny G would have been out in a few months, he's got off. You stupid fucking bastard! Why would you do that, you fucking stupid spicehead?
While the analysis of G's escape is more entertaining than others, what do you think about this shocking prison escape? IPP, trapped in limbo. Should dangerous criminals be marked for the rest of their lives, or be given a chance to start their lives afresh? The IPP terms answer affirmative to the former question. Why is this relevant to our video? Because Daniel G was given an imprisonment for public protection sentence, IPP, a controversial jail term introduced in 2005 for serious crimes and persistent criminals. The sentence is significant to our story because it helps us understand Daniel G's time in prison and his possible motivations for absconding. Now, what did it entail to be so controversial that it was abolished in 2012 after criticism from human rights activists? Firstly, IPP sentences are indeterminate rather than having a fixed end date. They were designed to ensure that dangerous, violent and sexual offenders stayed in custody for as long as they posed a risk to the public. Introduced through the Criminal Justice Act 2003, they came into effect in 2005. After that, a lot of prisoners were slapped with IPP sentences, and many of them are still serving their sentences. However, up until 2012, authorities realised that the reforms weren't effective and the sentence was abolished. I would bore you with the timeline here, so let's get to its significance and controversy. You would agree that dangerous criminals should be put behind bars to prevent them from harming the public. However, what if the system is designed in a way that they are deprived of any chance of living a normal life ever? Do you believe that a person's present crimes should shut the doors of freedom on them forever? While the IPP sentence didn't necessarily entail this, that's what happened to many of the prisoners slapped with it. Around 8,711 people received an IPP sentence until 2012, of which 2,892 are still serving as of December 2022. Freedom's not guaranteed. Here's how an IPP works. There are 3 parts of this sentence. The first one is a mandatory period in prison known as the tariff. It is based on the nature of the offence a person has committed and being sentenced for, which is also called the index offence. Then comes indefinite detention until the time the parole board agrees that the offender has reduced their risk enough to be safely released. The third part comes after the release. The offender is subject to a life licence in the community and can be recalled to prison in case of breach or re-offence. The IPP prisoners can apply to the parole board to have their licence terminated 10 years after their initial release. However, there is no guarantee that it will be terminated. Now, what's the catch? For sure, an individual that is dangerous to the public should be kept under a watch, but keeping them under such stringent watch with minimal chances of getting their lives back is highly unfair. Moreover, many of these individuals suffer from mental health issues. It was highlighted in a 2023 parliamentary debate that such issues can impact their risk assessment. This makes it go in circles. The issues they developed or had exacerbated because of their incarceration would prolong the prisoner's stay in imprisonment. What's more, even when those prisoners manage to secure their release from prison, the possibility of getting recalled remains hanging over their heads. The mental health issues they grapple with are so profound that at least 88 people with IPP sentences have ended their lives in prison, according to Ministry of Justice data. The current situation is that 97.5% of IPP prisoners currently serving have completed their tariff. In fact, many of them have served well beyond their tariff. As of December 2022, 1,394 out of 2,892 IPP prisoners are serving their original sentence and have never been released. Around 621 of these prisoners have served at least 10 years beyond their tariff, and 222 of those have had a tariff only less than 2 years.